Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We're hearing today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, verse number 7. Is that right? Yeah. Is it 8? Okay, sorry. Griham anitam ahuya praradam daitya rajaka prasasya sla sanaya vacha sama prichanti samabudhi. When Hiranyakashipu's servants brought the boy Prahlada back to the Gurukula, the place where the Brahmanas taught the boys, the priests of the demons, Sanda and Amarka, pacified him with very mild voices and affectionate words. They inquired from him as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sananda and Amarka, the priests of the demons, were eager to know from Prahlad Maharaj who the Vaishnavas were that came to instruct him in Krishna consciousness. Their purpose was to discover the names of these Vaishnavas. In the beginning, they did not threaten the boy because when threatened, he might not identify the real culprits. Therefore, they very mildly and peacefully inquired as follows. Dear son Prahlada, all peace and good fortune unto you. Kindly do not speak lies. Just reply with the truth. These boys you see are not like you, for they do not speak in the defiant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in this way? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prahlada Maharaj was still a boy, and therefore his teachers thought that if they pacified the little boy, he would immediately speak the truth, revealing the secret of how the Vaishnavas came there to teach him lessons in devotional service. It was surprising, of course, that in the same school the other boys of the Daityas were not polluted. Only Prahlada Maharaja was supposedly polluted by the instructions of the Vaishnavas. The main duty of the teachers was to inquire who those Vaishnavas were that came to teach Prahlada and spoil his intelligence. O best of your family, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about you, brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth. Prahlada Maharaja's purport. Prahlada Maharaja's teachers were astonished that a small boy could speak such exalted Vaishnava philosophy. Therefore, they inquired about the Vaishnavas who stealthily taught it to him, in order that these Vaishnavas might be arrested and killed in the presence of Prahlada's father, Hiranyakashipu. Text number 11. Prahlada Maharaj replied, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.18, Vidya Vinaye Sampane, Brahmane Gavihastani, Sunichaiva Swapakecha, Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater or outcast. Pandita, those who are actually learned, the equipoised, advanced devotees who have full knowledge of everything, do not see any living entity as an enemy or friend. Indeed, the broader vision, they see that everyone is part of Krishna, as confirmed in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadasa. Every living entity, being part of the Supreme Lord, is meant to serve the Lord, just as every part of the body is meant to serve the whole body. As servants of the Supreme Lord, all the living entities are one, but a Vaishnava, because of his natural humility, addresses every other living entity as Prabhu. A Vaishnava sees other servants to be so advanced that he has much to learn from them. Thus he accepts all other devotees of the Lord as Prabhus, masters. Although everyone is servant of the Lord, one Vaishnava servant, because of humility, sees another servant as his master. Understanding of the master begins from understanding the spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nakatir kudopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Shakshat dwarit tvena samasta sastrer, uktastata bhavyata eva sadvihi, kintu prabhur ya priya eva tasya, vande guru chi charanara vindam. The spiritual master is bound to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari Krishna. The spiritual master, the servant of God, is engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord, namely, delivering all the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya, in which one thinks, this person is my enemy, and that one is my friend. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the friend of all living entities, and all living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Oneness is possible through this understanding, not through artificially thinking that every one of us is God or equal to God. The true understanding is that God is the Supreme Master and that all of us are servants of the Supreme Lord and are therefore on the same platform. This had already been taught to Prahlad Maharaj by his spiritual master, Narada, but Prahlada was nonetheless surprised by how a bewildered soul thinks one person his enemy and another his friend. As long as one adheres to the philosophy of duality, thinking one person a friend and another an enemy, he should be understood to be in the clutches of Maya, the Mayavadi philosopher who thinks that all living entities are God and are therefore one, is also mistaken. No one is equal to God. The servant cannot be equal to the master. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, the master is one and the servants are also one, but the distinction between the master and the servant must continue even in the liberated stage. In the conditioned stage, we think that some living beings are our friends, whereas others are enemies, and thus we are in duality. In the liberated stage, however, the conception is that God is the master and all living entities, being servants of God, are one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Is that it? We read more, or that's it? One more. Text number 12. Say Yadanuvrat Pumsam Pasus Budhir Vibhidyate Anya Esa Tatanyo Ham Iti Bedha gatasati. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity, because of his devotional service, one becomes a pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and demoniac father asked him how his intelligence had been polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, as far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna, but under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master, for then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. Demons think of everyone as friend or enemy, but Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnava treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8,400,000 species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. The Ishopanishad advises, Ekatvam Anupasyata. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called Ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also Ekatvam. Thus, the conception of Ekatvam for the Vaishnava is different from that of the Mayavadi. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlada had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore, he asked, who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Ya Sav Yadan Uvrata. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suhidam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Santim Richati. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is pasu buddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks, I am different from my enemy, and my enemy is different from me. The enemy has done this, and therefore my duty is to kill him. This misconception is described in this verse as Veda Gatasati. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nitya Dasa. As servants of the Lord, we are one, and there can be no questions of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that every one of us is a servant of the Lord, where is the question of enemy or friend? Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between the servants in performing service, but in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated and not condemned. This is Vaishnava competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto matak smriti jnanam apuhanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service, life after life, and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam, tadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend. Everyone is working under the different different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja ki jai. Are there any questions or comments? No, sure. It's no problem. Yes.
Prahlad Maharaj. So, I mean, what do we do in that situation? I hope you understood Maharaj, right?
You fight.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. What should we do in that situation?
You fight.
So, Maharaj, I think once you mentioned that if it is happening to us, if you are a sincere devotee, you depend on Krishna.
You can tolerate.
You tolerate. But if it is happening for
someone else,
like under your, like another Vaishnava or obviously Guru or and any kind of what is it, disrespect to the Lord, that's when you don't tolerate.
Right.
So is that still
Yeah, it's still it's still valid.
okay?
Yeah. We're not looking for a fight, but if someone blasphemes Krishna or blasphemes the devotees of Krishna, we have to, one, plug our ears and walk away, or two, kill that person. Okay? So, best thing is to plug your ears and walk away. Yeah, because there's so many ignorant people in the world today. In the time of Hiranyakashipu, there were only a few demons. But today, there are tons of demons. So we're going to meet these demons. Every time we go out on Sankirtan, you're going to meet demons. Not all, but, there are so many demons nowadays. Therefore, we have to be very careful how we deal with the public. If we find that someone is inimical, then we should walk away from such a person. Or we should cover our ears. Or we should commit suicide. Yeah, those are the different choices we have. So the best thing is just to walk away. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, from the Prabhupada, it says that there is no enmity in Vaikuntha, and what I have learned that the reason we fell down from the Vaikuntha planets is that because of our envy and enmity and hatred which we might had at that time. So how come if there is no such qualities in the Vaikuntha planets, we got those qualities and we came down?
Well, in the transcendental planets, there's rumors of enemies, but there are no enemies. There's rumors of enemies, right? Okay, now your question is, how is it that we fell down? Is that right? Okay. It's by not being very, let's say, focused on being Krishna conscious. When we are slack in our chanting and hearing and dancing and having prasadam, then we can fall down. So when you see a person who is not chanting their rounds, who is not hearing regularly, who is, watching television, going to movies and things like that, you know that this person, although he might be initiated, he might be a devotee, but he is a devotee that we should avoid, not associate with such people. We don't hate that person, but we should only have the intimate relationship with bona fide devotees who do not violate the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Does that answer your question or not? Okay. Yeah, you're going to see all kinds of devotees. Some devotees strictly follow all the rules and regulations. Some devotees sometimes follow, sometimes don't follow. Some devotees don't follow at all, right? So how can you call them a devotee? So therefore, you have to be very careful to associate only with first-class devotees who are always following the regulative principles and happily doing it. Some devotees sometimes, they're reluctantly doing these things. Right? But a genuine devotee is happy all the time. Therefore, that's the type of person you should associate with. One is always happy, chanting Hare Krishna and engaging in Krishna conscious activities. Haribol. Any other questions? So do I keep reading? No. another 20 minutes. But you were shaking your head. You were going like this, but like that. Okay, text number 13. Saisa atmaswa pariti abud hibir durat ya yanu kramo nirupt yate muyantitad yad vartmani veda vadino brahma dayo hi esa binati me matim. Persons who always think in terms of enemy and friend are unable to ascertain the super soul within themselves. Not to speak of them, even such exalted persons as Lord Brahma, who are fully conversant with the Vedic literature, are sometimes bewildered in following the principles of devotional service. The same Supreme Personality Godhead who has created this situation has certainly given me the intelligence to take the side of your so-called enemy. Very interesting. Purport. Prahlad Maharaja admitted frankly, my dear teachers, you wrongly think that Lord Vishnu is your enemy. But because he is favorable toward me, I understand that he is the friend of everyone. You may think that I have taken the side of your enemy, but factually, he has bestowed a great favor upon me. Very good. Text 14. O Brahmanas, teachers, as iron attracted by a magnetic stone moves automatically toward the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his, meaning Krishna's, will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus, I have no independence. That's a nice thing, a nice way to think. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For iron to be attracted by a magnet is natural. Similarly, for all living entities to be attracted toward Krishna is natural, and therefore the Lord's real name is Krishna, meaning he who attracts everyone and everything. The typical examples of such attraction are found in Vrindavana, where everything and everyone is attracted by Krishna. The elderly persons like Nanda Maharaja and Yasoda Devi, the friends like Sridama, Sudama, and the other cowherd boys, the gopis like Srimati Radharani and her associates, and even the birds, beasts, cows, and calves are attracted. The flowers and fruits in the gardens are attracted. The waves of the Yamuna are attracted. And the land, sky, trees, plants, animals, and all other living beings are attracted by Krishna. This is the natural situation of everything in Vrindavana. Just contrary to the affairs of Vrindavana is the material world, where no one is attracted by Krishna and everyone is attracted by Maya. This is the difference between the spiritual and material worlds. Hiranyakashipu, who was in the material world, was attracted by women and money, whereas Prahlada Maharaj, being in his natural position, was attracted by Krishna. In replying to Hiranyakashipu's question about why Prahlad Maharaj had a deviant view, Prahlada said that his view was not deviant, for the natural position of everyone is to be attracted by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu found this view deviant. Prahlada said, because of being unnaturally unattracted by Krishna, Hiranyakashipu therefore needed purification. That means they have to kill him to purify him. As soon as one is purified of material contamination, he is again attracted by Krishna. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam. In the material world, everyone is contaminated by the dirt of sense gratification and is acting according to the different designations, sometimes as human beings, sometimes as beast, sometimes a demigod or tree, and so on. One must be cleansed of all these designations. Then one will be naturally attracted to Krishna. The bhakti process purifies the living entity of all unnatural attractions. I mean, that's a very important statement. The bhakti process purifies the living entity of all unnatural attractions, like movies and different types of sense gratificatory activities and so forth. When one is purified, he is attracted by Krishna and begins to serve Krishna instead of serving Maya. This is his natural position. A devotee is attracted by Krishna, whereas a non-devotee, being contaminated by the dirt of material enjoyment, is not. This is confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 7.28. Yesam twantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvanda mohanir mukta bhajante mam jitavrataha. People who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are free from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. One must be freed from all the sinful dirt of material existence. Everyone in this material world is contaminated by material desire. Unless one is free from all material desire, anya bilasita sunyam, one cannot be attracted by Krishna. We continue? Yeah. Text 15. Sri Narada Uvacha Etavad Brahman Na Yuktva Virarama Mahamati Tam Sani Bhartasya Kupita Sudino Raja Sevaka. The giant saint Narada Muni continued. The great soul Prahlada Maharaj became silent after saying this to his teachers, Sanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Sukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him because they were servants of Hiranyakashipu. They were very sorry, and to chastise Prahlad Maharaj, they spoke as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Sukra means semen. The sons of Sukracharya were Brahmanas by birthright, but an actual Brahmana is one who possesses the Brahminical qualities. The Brahmanas Sanda and Amarka, being seminal sons of Sukracharya, did not actually possess real Brahminical qualities, for they engaged as servants of Hiranyakashipu. An actual Brahmana is very much satisfied to see anyone, not to speak of his disciple, become a devotee of Lord Krishna. Such Brahmanas are meant to satisfy the Supreme Master. A Brahmana is strictly prohibited from becoming a servant of anyone else, for that is the business of dogs and Sudras. A dog must satisfy his master, but a Brahmana does not have to satisfy anyone. He is simply meant to satisfy Krishna, Anukul Yena Krishnana Silanam. That is the real qualification of a Brahmana. Because Sanda and Amarka were seminal Brahmanas, seminal means born from semen, right? Were seminal Brahmanas and had become servants of such a master as Hiranyakashipu, they unnecessarily wanted to chastise Prahlada Maharaj. Yeah, because they couldn't recognize who Prahlada was. He was a pure devotee. Instead of bowing down to the pure devotee, they wanted to chastise him, even up to the point of even trying to kill him. Text number 16. Aniyatam are vetram asmakam aya saskara kulan gar rasya durbudhis dir budhis chaturo syodito dama. Oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahlada is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become like a cinder in the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by the fourth of the four kinds of political diplomacy, meaning death. Yeah, different types of diplomacy, making friends and using choice words and things like that, or trying to kill someone. Purport: in political affairs, when a person disobediently agitates against the government, four principles are used to suppress him: legal orders, pacification, the offer of a post, or finally, weapons. When there are no other arguments, he is punished. In logic, this is called argumentum ad baculum. That is a principle that sometimes the only choice is to punish someone because they are not hearing correctly or doing things correctly. When two seminal brahmanas, Sanda and Amarka, failed to extract from Prahlad Maharaj the cause for his having opinions different from those of his father, they called for a stick with which to chastise him to satisfy their master, Hiranyakashipu. Because Prahlada had become a devotee, they considered him to be contaminated by bad intelligence and to be the worst descendant in the family of demons. As it is said, where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. Where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. So in other words, if you're in bad association, you will be ridiculed for being a person who follows the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. People will make fun of you, or they might even want to kill you. As it is said, where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. In a society or family in which everyone is a demon, for someone to become a Vaishnava is certainly folly. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj was charged with bad intelligence because he was among demons, including his teachers who were supposedly brahmanas. The members of our Krishna consciousness movement are in a position similar to that of Prahlada Maharaj. All over the world, 99% of the people are godless demons, and therefore our preaching of Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, is always hampered by many impediments. Because of their fault of being devotees, because of their fault of being devotees, the American boys who have sacrificed everything for preaching Krishna consciousness are charged with being members of the CIA. Yeah, at one point, the devotees were stamped as members of the CIA, which was completely false. Moreover, the seminal brahmanas in India, who say that one can become a brahmana only if born in a brahmana family, charge us with ruining the Hindu system of religion. Of course, the fact is that one becomes a brahmana by qualification, not by birth. Because we are training Europeans and Americans to become qualified and are awarding them Brahminical status, we are being charged with destroying the Hindu religion. Nonetheless, confronting all kinds of difficulties, we must spread the Krishna consciousness movement with great determination, like that of Prahlad Maharaja. In spite of being the son of the demon Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada never feared the chastisements of the seminal Brahmana sons of a demoniac father. Text 17. Daitya Chandana Vane Jatoyam Kantaka Druma Yan Mulon Mula Parasor Vishnor Na Layito Ribaka. This rascal Prahlada has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. Oh, jeez. To cut down the sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons, and this Prahlada is the handle for that axe. Wow. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thorn trees generally grow in deserted places, not in sandalwood forests. But the seminal Brahmanas, that means they are born by semen, not by purity. But the seminal Brahmanas, Sanda and Amarka, compared the dynasty of the Daityas, Hiranyakashipu, to a sandalwood forest, and compared Prahlad Maharaja to a hard, strong thorn tree that could provide the handle of an axe. They compared Lord Vishnu to the axe itself. An axe alone cannot cut a thorn tree. It needs a handle, which may be made of the wood of the thorn tree. Thus, the thorn tree of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces by the axe of Vishnu Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, Krishna. Some of the members of the demoniac civilization, like Prahlada Maharaj, may become the handle for the axe to assist Lord Vishnu, and thus the entire forest of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces. Hare Krishna. Text 18. Sanda and Amarka, the teachers of Prahlad Maharaja, chastised and threatened their disciple. Threatened their disciple in various ways and began teaching him about the paths of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. This is the way they educated him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the words praradam gahayam asa are important. The words grahayam asa literally means that they tried to induce Prahlada Maharaja to accept the paths of dharma, artha, and kama, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. People is meant for improving their material conditions. The materialist goes to a temple to worship many varieties of demigods just to receive some benediction to improve his material life. He goes to a sadhu or so-called swami to take advantage of an easy method for achieving material opulence. In the name of religion, the so-called sadhus try to satisfy the senses of the materialists by showing them shortcuts to material opulence. Sometimes they give some talisman, that's like a special rock or some special substance or whatever that's supposed to give you whatever you want. Sometimes they attract materialistic persons by producing gold. Then they declare themselves God, and foolish materialists are attracted to them for economic development. As a result of this process of cheating, Others are reluctant to accept a religious process, and instead they advise people in general to work for material advancement. This is going on in all over the world, not only now, but since time immemorial. No one is interested in moksha, liberation. There are four principles: dharma, religion; artha, economic development; kama, sense gratification; and moksha, liberation. People accept religion to become materially opulent. And why should one be materially opulent? For sense gratification. Thus, people prefer these three margas, three paths of materialistic life. No one is interested in liberation, and Bhagavad Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, is above even liberation. Therefore, the process of devotional service, Krishna consciousness, is extremely difficult to understand. This will be explained later by Prahlada Maharaj. The teachers Sunda and Amarka tried to induce Prahlad Maharaja to accept the materialistic way of life, but actually their attempt was a failure. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, there was a question online, almost like a request. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. How should I deal with ignorant demons, specifically if they are your own parents? Please help me. I desire to live with a family of Vaishnava saints, but I live with a family of non-devotees. I possess Brahmanical qualities. I am simply meant to satisfy Krishna. Please help me to satisfy Krishna and to go back home, back to Godhead.
Very good question. Number one, are your, let's say, so-called demoniac family members stopping you from being Krishna, or do they tolerate you being Krishna conscious? I need to know that in order to answer this question.
We don't have a way to communicate with
really?
that person,
Okay.
but let's say both the scenarios, if you want to communicate.
Yeah, so if the, let's say, non-devotee parents or relatives do not stop the devotee from being Krishna conscious, they just tolerate it, then you can also tolerate them. Not by, let's say, criticizing them, but to understand that they're, they're less intelligent, but they're not stopping you from being Krishna conscious. But if they try and stop you from being Krishna conscious, especially by blaspheming Krishna, then you must leave in one way or another. Now, let's say you're too young to walk out of your house, right? So then you have to pray very sincerely every day, and Krishna will save you. You'll see. You have to be patient, though. But so you patiently wait, or while you're waiting, you're chanting your rounds nicely, and probably in a secretive way, because sometimes if people in your family hear you chanting Hare Krishna, they'll get very angry, like demons. Right? So you have to be very careful. But see, no situation is eternal in the material world. Everything is changing. So if you're like 12 or 14 years old and your parents are demons, well, you only have to wait another 4 years, and you can leave home, and because you're an adult, right? Now, while you're still under the, let's say, influence of your parents, then you have to pray. And that type of praying is very, very, what you would call purification. In difficult situation, instead of becoming defeated, you become stronger by chanting Hare Krishna. But you have to do it without the other members of the family hearing you. Right? So you're like a commando. They usually do stealth activities. So you have to chant without your family knowing that you're chanting. So if it's really very, very severe, you can chant silently. That's in the most severe situation. Or if they tolerate you chanting, but they don't appreciate it, well, at least they're tolerating it, right? And it's only for a certain period of time. Let's say you're, 16 years old, and they're really bothering you. Well, they can only bother you another 2 years, and then you can walk out, But you have to be very careful of looking down at your parents, even though they might be demons, because they did bring you into this world. They have been protecting you, right? They didn't kill you and eat you. They protected you. So you have to respect that. And just be patient, because as soon as you become 18 years old, you can walk away and, join the temple. Now, if you want to join when you're 14 years old, that might be a real difficulty for the temple, because then your parents will try and sue the temple, right? So you have to be careful and very patient. But by that patience, you become stronger in your determination to be Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. So we stopped at Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 19. So tomorrow we'll begin in Text 20. We ended at 7:5 and 19, yeah, so we started 6:20. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And count your blessings, because you are not being forced by your parents to be demons. On the other hand, you're probably helping your parents to become devotees. Haribol.